In today's real world example, we're given a list of about 100 names or so, and we need to clean these up. First things first, we notice that they have leading numbers and that the spaces are just not consistent. Maybe it was pulled from a CSV or something somewhere down the road, and the formatting didn't follow how you wanted it to. So instead of going in manually and removing all these spaces, let's just do it through formulas. So the first one we're going to do is text to columns because we want to get rid of any of these numbers here. The one thing that's consistent is they all have a number with a period. So we're going to click on the column. We're going to click on the column. Data tab, text to columns, delimited. If we use fixed width, it's going to go to the exact same amount of characters before it does any action. And in this case, that's not ideal because we have single and double digits. So we're going to use delimited. And we're going to tell it where we want it to break it. We want it to break this up after the period. So we're going to come down here. That's not an option. So we're going to hit other, and we're going to put a period in there. Now it's going to show us how it's breaking it up. And as you can see, it's after all the names. Now, one thing you could do is you could say, you know what, instead of that, I want to do it after the spaces. And that actually will break it into two different ones. You have the first name, last name. Where you'll run into problems with that are if you have names that don't have a leading space, like Opal Pittman here, then you'll have to go back and do some cleanup. So it's always best to find stuff that is consistent across all of them and then go from there. So in this case, what is consistent is a number and a period. So we're going to hit next. And we can change this to whatever we want, but it doesn't really matter as far as the formatting. So we're going to hit finish. And as you can see, it moved everything over, including Opal. Everybody's all in the same situation. Let's expand this out. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to move this over to here without any leading spaces. Now, if you're working with a data set that maybe has other information here, names, addresses, phone numbers, you don't want to overwrite that. So just click on the column that you want to put it in, right click, go down and hit insert, and it'll give you an extra column. Make sure to clean that up later if you're importing that data into something else. So here we're going to hit equals, we're going to hit trim, and then it's asking us which text cell do we want. We click on Linda, we close it, and we hit enter. As you can see, it removed the leading space on Linda. So now you highlight the cell, you get the green box with the square, hover over the square till you get the black cross, double click, and it'll run all the way down. And if you notice, it took out the extra spaces between WM Valdez, it took out the leading spaces on Geneva, it took out the leading ones on Vicky, and then where's Opal at on here? I know she was on, there she is. And it retained hers exactly how it was. There was no issues there, so it didn't make any changes. One more thing I will show you here is if you wanted to come over here and make some more modifications on this. Let's say you wanted to do first name, last name in separate columns. Let's click on this, show you the issue that you could run into here and how to fix it. So let's go up to text to columns. It's showing the cells here as trim, not as the actual data. So what I do in this situation is I would come over here, I would right click, I would hit insert, I click on the column, Control C to copy it, go over to the next column, Control V. Make sure when you Control V as values. So now I have Linda Owens as opposed to trim 2. So if you notice, the values are a little different. So then, in that case, I would just come over here, delete that one, and I have actual data in there in the format that I want. So now, if we want to actually break this into first name, last name, we can go back to clicking on the columns, go back to data, go back to text to columns, sticking with delimited, come over here, and now instead of the period, we want to use the space. And this will break it up in the first name, last name. We shouldn't have any exceptions here. You could run into situations later where somebody has a middle initial, and that would count it as it, so you'll just have to accommodate for that as you go. Then we hit next. We can make these text if we want because it is their name, and depending on where you're putting it, you want to make sure the formats are the same. Hit finish, and now you have first name, last name in a way that is ready to be imported. So I don't see any errors in there. Looks like we're good. So that's how you do the trim feature and how you do text to columns.